Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Supercharged Stocks. Today, we've got Hawkmoon Resources on again. My good friend Brandon Haynes is on, but he's also brought Thomas Clarke. He's the VP Exploration and Director of the company on as well. And we're going to chat about, you a little bit, Thomas. Just want to give you a quick intro and a hello. But hey, a lot's happened since we spoke to you last, Brandon. Yes. You're in the thick of it. There's lots of news flow that's come out as well. Let's get started. Let's just start chatting. Tell me what's happening.
So we've completed a 5,023 meter drill program over the summer. It was fantastic. It means that the company has now actually had its first drill program. We're there. We were on site. Here we are, drone camera capturing footage. Tom's logging core. I'm helping out digging and stacking boxes. We got drilling going on and a dozer clearing path. Pretty exciting stuff. Particularly since back in 2019, when Tom and I were sitting in the Cactus Club deciding to start a company together, we didn't expect to be on a program that big in a great piece of property within Quebec. We had talked about it as a pipe dream and something we were working towards, but there it was, a reality. So it was one of the most exciting times for us this summer, being there involved in that. And this property, Wilson, is just 20 minutes away from the little town of Quévillon. You can buy a coffee from the local gas station and it's still warm by the time you get to the project.
Yeah, let's just give someone like a bit of a heads up too. Like, we're talking gold, we're talking Quebec, very mining friendly, tons of infrastructure, but we're like, it's this region that's historically rich. There's lots of other companies going away, hard at work, lots of drill programs. So it wasn't like, hey, we snagged a piece of property in the middle of nowhere. This is a very, very compelling area and region, just so people have a bit of a context as to, and remind them of the story.
Yeah. Tom was able to get, 3 days, and we got our drill permits. This is how fast Quebec works.
Yeah, the lady in La Belle sur Quévillon, she's excellent. It's a totally mining friendly town. It used to be a forestry town. They've actually just restarting the mill after, I don't know, like 20 years of it being closed. So they've pivoted to mining. And Osisko is huge in the area. They've got they're about 100 Ks, the nearest town to Windfall Lake deposit. But that Windfall Lake, that Osisko goes all the way west and abuts us as well by Quévillon. So it's so much work going on that they've opened their own prep lab for ALS to handle this volume of work. So the town is really pro mining, and they're always kind of feel like they're always on our side. You don't have to butting heads to do little things, and there's skilled people there. It's easy to get to Val d'Or, about an hour and a half drive. Property, you can get there all year on great, well-maintained roads. So we chose there because it's near a Romeo property, but it's an advanced one, so it's not a complicated story for investors to understand. We're not on 3 commodities. We just like a nice simple deal that focuses closely on our main goal, which is gold in Quebec.
Yeah.
So I want to introduce you, Thomas, and thank you for being on, because it's great to have the geo on the program as well, because I can't speak to any of the geology. I mean, I know the bare amount to get myself in enough trouble. So it's a pleasure to have you on to kind of give us your sense of what you're seeing, how it's going, and like these types of things, to a lot of the behind the scenes work that goes into advancing a project like this. And amongst other things, I mean, you've got lots of experience in different copper, platinum group of metals, energy stocks. But I think your last role, or one that people will definitely recognize, was as a director over at Bonterra Resources. So you know the area very well. You certainly know mining exceptionally well. And once again, we're glad to be able to have a bit more of a, you kind of walk us through maybe some of the technical aspects of it, or some of the things that you saw when you were there, and to speak to that a little bit more, which is great.
Okay. I first learned about the area when I started as a director of Bonterra back in 2010. And the time it was kind of a company that's getting started. So we had one property, then we added in what's now became Gladiator. And we're trying to kind of look at a similar strategy. I'm not sure if it will apply to Hawkmoon. We're going to work on it. Probably lots of data, but holes in kind of here and going different directions. It hadn't just been put together. So we had about 9,000 meters of historical drilling, and we added, we did our first resource estimate based on our 10 or 13,000 meters we did. So I like the area a lot. And over the years, I've developed quite a big network of people that, and they know people that can help you, and they're all reasonable. They just do their jobs well. And there's no drama. It's a really good group of people, which is one of the key factors, as well as the ground. So, I've worked various places, but when Brennan approached me to talk about this, we, talked about various ideas, but this is kind of where we've decided to be. And the program went well. I was there on site for about 2 months. A good friend of mine, a prospector, was there, and an equipment operator, a new guy that's now been involved, was there. And we had the drillers were fantastic. Fulberry Feast, I'll sing their praises all the time. They actually set a record of the total meters drilled over a half a month invoicing period on our project. So they did great work, and so we got the project done efficiently. We've now we're just waiting on results. Hopefully, maybe as early as next week. We don't know. We're just waiting on this. Yeah. But the zones that look really consistent. Obviously, gold, you never know until you get the numbers, because of the nugget effect, it moves around. But you always had a zone that's highly altered. It just jumps at you. It's like the surrounding rock is like a gray, and the zone is always a kind of a tan brown due to the certain alterations. So there's lots of little veinlets and mineralized zones. And so the good thing is not every hole is going to be excellent, or who knows, but because that's how gold works. But not one of the 28 holes we drilled had nothing. Like they all had these altered mineralized zones in them. Yeah. So that gives us confidence on the potential size of this, but obviously a lot more work will need to be done. But overall, the program was a success in my opinion, and now we're just sitting waiting for the numbers.
On top of that, to add to Tom discussing about full bear drilling, we were able to get a fantastic rate of about $99 a meter raw cost. So we came in under budget, $200,000 this year.
Holy smokes! See, that's pretty impressive, because you guys did a raise. I want to say back in August.
Back in August, and we raised $800,000, Andrew, approximately.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And we were able to use it entirely for this program, and not have to touch our original treasury.
See, that's outstanding as well, and to be able to run it that efficiently speaks volumes as well. Yeah.
So very good on the management of cash position side. It's good for the stock, and investors are going to be excited about where we're heading in October. We're going to have an American listing coming down the pipe. We'll be working on our lava property, and there'll be assays to come in the near futures.
That's a really exciting program you guys have put together, and I want to kind of just pivot here as well and talk about the team, because I know you guys have made some additions to the management team as well. The main one kind of being Éric Lemieux. Maybe walk us through what he brings to the table and why you guys are so excited to have him involved in the project.
Okay, quick story how we met Éric. I was hosting a Lee Jones Gable Zoom call, and the comment section after the call, he got on and started talking about some historicals on Wilson. It turns out he had worked on Wilson in the past. So he was very familiar with that and some of our other properties. We ended up having dinner in Montreal together and really hitting it off. And I asked him about joining our board, and he said yes. Éric has a significant background as a geo, an analyst. He's worked for Laurentian Bank. He's been involved with SOQUEM and a number of the funds. So what he does is, like our VP of Investor Relations, Clémence, this is somebody who's got boots on the ground in Quebec, has connections, and is going to help further establish us within that province. The key is my parlez-vous français? But Éric, Clémence, fluent, able to template materials, contact people in their native tongue, and that goes a long way. So we're getting our foot in the door. Because the company's branding, as we've told you before, exploration in Quebec. That's all we do is we have Quebec-based properties. We're not going to suddenly announce something in Africa or, Idaho.
Yeah.
So therefore, we need to have a French-speaking board as well, and people that are represented in that province.
Absolutely. And we talked to a number of Quebec-based mining companies, and just the infrastructure, the willingness to work, the acknowledgement, even by the province of Quebec, for especially like energy metals and whatnot, is huge. But all mining. I mean, this is a very mining friendly jurisdiction, all the way up from permitting. But also, there's a deep understanding that if we want this kind of green future, this means mining. So there's not a lot of education that needs to go to help explain to them the critical need for. I mean, there's lots of rare earth there. There's vanadium there. There's lots happening in Quebec. But you guys, as gold, this is the first thing that people generalists look at. They're mostly excited about is it's kind of like find that pot of gold. Can we find a gold mine here?
Exactly.
And there's a rich history of that.
And Andrew, you yourself and Austin posted our last video yesterday onto Supercharged Stock site. Thank you very much. That was a beautifully shot video from one of our key investors, Gabriel Erdelli. He drove all the way from Toronto to join us on site, film that footage, and then I went and had my guy, Bruce Jamali, who runs Master Picks and updates our website, shoot some in-office stuff, and we combined it and got a beautiful video where we discussed the Abitibi. So we focused on Quebec, Abitibi, and giving people an introduction for when they come onto our website, why we're in Quebec.
Yeah.
That's the first thing people want to know. And sometimes you forget about the big picture of here's why we're in Quebec to begin with.
Yes, like I wrote a big piece a couple of years back on this kind of Abitibi greenstone shield or greenstone belt. And it's hard to forget, but sometimes people need a bit of a remembrance of how significant this region is. And even if let's just focus on gold, just on gold, never mind everything else that's there. Maybe Thomas, you could jump in and kind of tell us, on a big macro play, and as a geo, what's so special about here?
Well, the Abitibi is one of the world's premier gold belts. All the premier gold belts except Carlin and Nevada are the same age. So they all kind of formed around 2.7 billion years ago, and it's just very prolific. But most of the mines are actually in the south. The famous Porcupine Lauder Lake Fault, the Porcupine Duster, the Cadillac Break, all those main faults to the south that go through Kirkland Lake, Timmins, Val-d'Or, Malarctic, etc. But the northern 80% of it is really not that widely understood. So some new big mines such as Detour Lake is up there. We're in that area. Osisko Windfall's in that area. But regarding Quebec, a detail that I forgot to say that everyone will glance over is the mineral resource tax credit. And basically, we qualify the area. So, assuming the policy remains the same year to year, you get roughly 37% back of the money of non-flow-through dollars you spent as a check.
Yeah.
So there's no cap. Like there's no cap at say X amount of thousands of dollars per year. Yes. So they're serious about supporting us as well. And that with the great geology of the Abitibi, easy to get to. It makes a project easy for us to run because if you have to have people all these different areas, it's more expensive, and the cash incentives might not be as good, and so that further adds to our interest in the area as well.
Now, was some of that too, like in the past? Now, of course, in the last decade, especially advancements in geothermal and different techniques for looking at areas. Was it mainly in the past because of the overburden that people kind of went, let's just stick to these other areas right now, and they not forgotten, but just left some of these northern areas a little bit more alone. Whereas now that's like great field day. We can do a lot more work today and open up a lot of those areas.
Partially, yeah, that's partially correct. And the other reason was also kind of a lack of infrastructure. Like the urban Barrie area where Windfall Lake is to the east of us by KVO, there was no real roads in there. They start logging the area and there's creating more access, and that helps too. So both of those factors are important. There's all sorts of interesting projects going on, and now Amex is making hay to the west. Yeah, and so there's all these little areas are starting to kind of get more interest. So yeah, all these factors generally help. And in the old days, they found these deposits through forest fires, really. So there's a lot of logging going on, which helps, but still, obviously, you need a stumpage permit to take trees down. And yeah, so it's a process, but it's easy to maneuver if you're willing to go through it.
And cost effective too.
Yes, for sure. Which is impressive too, because this is your big maiden entrance into the scene, Brandon. We've talked about it before.
Iron Maiden. There it is again.
There we go. And we did. Yeah, that's a little reference before the show. We were chatting. But so far, it's.
You know what's funny, Andrew? If I can interject,
Please.
originally I was thinking of calling Hawkmoon Resources Iron Maiden Resources.
No way.
Iron Maiden. Yes, but we actually contacted the lawyer that handles their copyright in London, and they said if you do that, you could get a cease and desist letter from the band. I'm like, but we're a mining company. Doesn't matter. So we decided not to go with Iron Maiden Resources.
You'd have to be going for like an iron/titanium vanadium play or something. I don't know.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. People were like, nah, dude, it doesn't mix with gold, no matter how much you like Iron Maiden. So there you go.
I would have loved it. I would have loved it.
I know you would. But how do you create a logo when that logo is so famous? Right?
Hey, we could. It would be a fun project. Let me just put it that way.
There we go. Save it for next time.
But it's great because you're touching on a lot of things that a lot of other projects would have difficulty. Is trying to get things on budget during a pandemic. In other areas, lots of people are having all sorts of holdups on parts, on whatnot, on shipping of critical equipment and whatnot. There's holdups, all sorts of different places, especially if you're in somewhere not as mining friendly. So to be able to navigate all of that with this, your first mining company as leader in charge, so far, we're hearing a lot of good things. It's looking good, and certainly the project we've always liked. You're in the right area and whatnot. Now, I guess we're just waiting on these results. So you're done for now.
For now.
But now the next part is the painful wait part.
That's right. Hurry up and wait.
Yep. I think we're probably near the end for some of it, hopefully.
Yeah.
So crossing fingers. We'll see. But obviously it'll come in dribs and drabs over the next period of time because our little delay, it's nothing major, but it was getting some of the samples cut and into the lab because there were staffing shortages. But that's all been done a while back now. So, yeah, it should be coming in batches. It won't be all in one news release, which will be good for the market, and investors can watch it change over time and maybe find in and outs that work for them. Whatever, we'll see. So I like it. It's not all one big news release when we're done. So that's better in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it's tough, but we're hoping that maybe at some time next week, but we have lots of guests on, and we know that there's not a lot of assay companies out there in Canada. We know that there's a ton of programs and there's a ton of material and work being done. And also, I know some assay firms are having like double shifts, like night shifts plus day shifts, but there's not, there's an overwhelming amount of work that needs to be done on their end. So we can't, when people say, well, will it be next week? We'll know. Will it be 10 days from now, 2 weeks? No one can tell for certain, but we were hoping certainly that next week there could be results. And we always kind of want to put that out there. Is there a sense of urgency? When are the results coming? And I just want to kind of put that out there that, could be next week. Keep on the side of your computer or keep watching, just looking to see if there's any news flow.
Yeah, keep watching, guys. At this point, the price point is fairly attractive right now on the stock. We can talk that, and it's got room for growth.
Yes.
I think with our first drill program being what we feel could be successful, the stock price should respond. So there's a good potential coming.
Yes, and it is a good stock price right now because like almost every single stock out there in the mining sector has pulled back a bit, which if you understand kind of what we've been talking about over here, and there hasn't been any material change, and I always say to people, if it's pulled back and there's no news and you're waiting on results, then take a look at it again because you shouldn't be selling. You should be looking, going, okay, has anything changed? No, they've added to their board. They've done this. They've done that. We're waiting on results. It's a great time for people if they're looking. And I can't give financial advice, but there's plenty of tech sector companies out there that are massively overvalued. There's a ton of mining sector stocks that have gotten pulled back, that are incredibly undervalued.
Yeah, and Andrew, some of the selling that's been going on in the last 2 weeks, I can verify, is service providers that we have not renewed the contracts. And so all they're doing is simply just liquidating their positions.
Yes.
And so it presented a bit of a window where the the shares are at a bit of a low right now.
That's very interesting. That's a good thing to point out too. So people kind of go, because they get worried. They think, well, why would someone sell? And you think, all right, if it's a service provider, they may not even care about the story, that anything. They just want the cash. They're like, our business is just X,
that's
Y,
true.
Z.
One of them was a market maker, and market makers, if you're not going to have the contract ongoing, they're already long. They're not going to keep that because they reuse that for their next clients.
Yes. So that's a good thing to mention, because people will always wonder what happens in these markets. Why is it going down? And if it's someone who's just like, listen, part of our compensation was stock. We aren't analysts. We don't take positions in companies either way, unless it's an ongoing thing. They're just going to sell because they're like, we'll take the cash, whatever it is. And this happens a lot, especially in a junior market where it's more noticeable. If your market cap's $3 billion, you won't notice some vendor who just goes, just sell it, take the money.
Exactly.
But you notice a bit more here. So that's really helpful, because we like to talk about these situations where someone says, well, why would someone sell before results? Well, that's exactly why. There's a perfect example of someone who would.
Yeah. So that's why I decided I'd bring this up, give you guys a little bit of insight to what's going on in the market. But the board holds $7 million. We're going to be participating in the next financing. And on top of that, we've got a group of investors who are long with this company, are part of what we dub the Million Share Plus Club. And these guys control about 16 million shares. So you factor in the board stock, and you've got over 20 million plus shares that are all in friendly hands. So really the float is not as big as it looks.
Yes.
No. Well, it's tightly held, and it's held by management and insiders, which is nice to see as well. How many shares do you guys have outstanding at the moment, Brandon?
About 50.
Okay. No, that's good. That's all. Yeah. And it's at an attractive price point as well for people to look at and say, like, hey, here's a smaller company. Obviously, with you being your kind of first time leading and heading up the project, it's exciting as well. But the team you guys have put together is what excites me the most, obviously, with Tom and Éric and the rest of the crew as well. It makes it really attractive for someone in my position to look at and say, like, hey, they're doing a lot of really interesting stuff over there. And you're in the best region as well.
We started trading in August of this year. April of this year. So we're less than 1 year old, and we've already completed 5,000 meters. Now, one of the companies I absolutely adore and I'm champion is Clarity Gold. Clarity Gold was well over $1.50. James Rogers is a great guy. Yep. This company did 10,000 meters of drilling. They're in the same vicinity as us, and they've got probably some good results coming down the pipe. They have a much bigger market cap, many times bigger than ours, much bigger treasury. They did 10,000 meters. Little Hawkmoon did half of that with 5,000 meters.
Yes.
And we were running off the back of a treasury of about $2 million. You see, so that shows that we're exploration focused. We are a company that wants to get results for our investors. We're not, quote unquote, a lifestyle company.
No. And I'll jump into here because I can say this, and it's not being promotional, but we have a lot of generalist investors that jump in here, and you look and go, okay, well, if a stock's at $1 and it has good news where it goes to $1.10, but it goes $1.20, $1.30. Okay. If a 7-cent stock has some good news, it's a lot easier to double that to 14 cents. It's a lot more reasonable than to go $1 to $2.
That's
so
correct.
This is the one thing that we like about this asymmetric gains is if you're in the same region, you've done everything at, each milestone checked along the way. You've done it very efficiently and effectively without any major issues coming up, especially during a pandemic. You've got results in the window ready to come out, and you look and go, yeah, and not a ton of marketing. I mean, some of these companies too, they've got huge marketing budgets and they can spend it. It's just a matter of getting this in front of people and looking, going, oh, okay, you made a good point there, Brandon. You've done half the amount of drilling. The stock's at 7 cents, and we're just waiting on results. Big opportunity for people out there if they want to take a stab at something, for sure.
Exactly. And our burn rate's down to about 35 to 40,000 a month.
Excellent.
So we're currently sitting around $500,000 in the treasury after paying off everything on our 5,000 meter plus program. So we're not in bad shape. We will have to finance, obviously, again at some point down the road, particularly as we want to take on 1,000 meters on our Belterre property in November, and we're looking to do a big program on Wilson once again next year.
Yeah, and of course, this will, whatever results come in, this will either be the size of the program will be dependent on that.
Exactly.
On the results. If it's good results, it's going to be a big number because everyone's going to be paying attention.
Yes.
If it's not, it's going to be a bit tougher, but that's how things go. This is how it rolls.
I'm confident in our geo. Tom's usually know what side of the belt to be on. He's had good success, and he did a lot of research into these properties. And on top of that, his connection to Cartier and Philip Cloutier has been great. Phil is a real supporter for us. Cartier has, that 2 million ounce Chimo mine. Phil puts together a great suite of properties, and we were able to get this thing as it was sitting there collecting dust. This wonderful property of Wilson since 2017 that hadn't even been touched.
Yeah,
and you got something like that. So that's the kind of connections that you can get in Quebec if you're focused on it and you put the work in.
Yeah, and especially when people see that the commitment, to the project that you've had. We talked about the first video, like all the obstacles of getting this thing going and moving, and some of the techniques of going into shows.
That's right.
We won't really address that, but it was very good marketing and a real guerrilla marketing type of style.
Yes,
but you've done it, and you've done it under budget, which is, it's easy to blow the budget out on these things without any effort. So to do it under is remarkable as well. It's worth mentioning. And now we're sitting here with more addition to the board. There's certainly more interest, and hopefully results soon. So this is very exciting. We will certainly be watching. We're going to be definitely watching to see what happens in the next week, 2 weeks, who knows? But it should be coming soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate it, giving us the update, and congratulations on all the hard work you've done. And we'll definitely check in with you as well if we see anything come across the newswire.
Okay, will do.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew and Austin, and have a great rest of your day. It was great chatting again.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.